Alright, I'm going to Mukdahan. Good morning, everybody. Chuck here in ThatPhanom. I'll be back. I'm going to go into town with a group of friends, play some golf. It's what I do when I'm at home. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm at 90 kilo this morning. Pretty excited about that. Hang on a second. I think I forgot to lock my truck last night. Let me get on the road here. I want to talk to you guys this morning about safety here in Thailand. I made a video a few days ago talking about some exposed wires, like I always do. A lot of times I'm just joking about it. Don't touch that. Really don't touch that though. You could get electrical shock. 200, it's not always 220 volts. Sometimes it's 190, sometimes it's more. Most of the time it's less. I want to talk to you guys about, in general, everything safe in Thailand. First off, I think Thailand is an extremely safe place. They don't do very well with maintenance. I don't know why. I think it's a cultural mindset. I don't know. They just don't really think too much ahead, I guess. They don't think, well, if I do this, could this happen or that happen? They just do it and then hope for the best. A lot of really cool projects have been done throughout Thailand. A lot of bicycle paths, a lot of nice sidewalks and exercise stuff, all kinds of stuff that they get government funding for, but they don't have anybody to maintain the stuff. When I used to ride my bicycle, there'd be a lot of really cool paths, but they were overgrown with stuff, and then people end up drying their rice out on them or putting a little gazebo on it or something. So yeah, they're not really good with maintenance, and a lot of times it's like up to you. There's a gigantic hole in the sidewalk that goes to an endless pit of sewage or not sewage, but whatever. It's just there. They'll put a tree branch in there or something. I've seen people do funny stuff by putting like a banana tree in it just to be funny in the middle of the street. The roads are a big problem here, and a lot of the roads are, I'll say they're pretty dangerous. But saying that, I've driven 300 kilometers through Thailand, and I've never had an accident. I've avoided an accident probably every time I go outside. You really have to be on your toes driving. Once you get used to the driving here, it's really not that bad. Like it's kind of better. The up to you is a little bit better, because if you want to go, you need to make the decision and you need to go. It's kind of like a flock of chaotic birds. They don't crash into each other, but they seem to flow somehow. Vietnam is crazy. If you've ever been to Vietnam, it's insanity. If you just want to cross the street and there's looks like you can't. You just walk. I don't recommend that, but that's what you normally do, is just walk across the road without stopping. If you change your mind, it could cause some problems for you or somebody avoiding you. But for the most part, like in the States, people expect you to stay in the line, and then you get out of the line, they get aggressive. Maybe just some honking or some finger pointing, or even rolling the window down and cussing, or sometimes fist fights, but does that happen in Thailand? Yeah, certain areas it does happen. Bangkok can be kind of hectic, but I think they're really good drivers in Bangkok. I would say that most Thai drivers seem to have a problem with depth deception. I'm sorry. Depth perception. But I think they just give themselves plenty of space, because you never know what's going to come out at you, But in Bangkok, they drive really close and seem to avoid everything for the most part in general. But in America, if they don't want if you're in front of them, in front of whoever, they're pissed off at you for that. So, my mom lives here in Thailand, and you can ask her. She's never felt safer. Not that my mom's always kind of lived out in the country anyway, but she feels extremely safe being able to walk around on her own. Thai people have a lot of respect for elderly people. I'm not calling I'm not calling you elderly, but people that are older than them, they have a respect for them. And you can see these sometimes crazy old ladies on these electric scooters just in the middle of the road. Nobody will beep, nobody will do nothing. They just kind of go around her like, it's grandma. She's going to do whatever the hell she wants to do. So my mom feels extremely safe. I've had maybe one incident with a tour bus that was about to push me into a concrete divider. I had nowhere to go, and I kind of beat my horn, like a long beep, and it really pissed them off. I'm like, dude. So I thought we were gonna throw down, but I avoided stopping. Somehow, miraculously, an open turned up in the traffic, and I got out of there. Didn't really want to have any part of that. You never know what's in their vehicle, Losing face is a term used in Thailand where, this is definitely the land of smiles. And it's kind of strange if you really look at it. Like, if people, or let's say there's two motorbikes that collide into each other, they'll get up off the bike and kind of look around and smile. Like, it's weird. It's the opposite of what we would do in the States. We'd be like, blaming it on each other about the fight, But here, the first thing they do is kind of smile. And, kind of everything's okay, pick up your stuff, blah, 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 if nobody's seriously hurt. But if you go too far, and I think this is, it's more on the lines of being disrespectful than the losing face. It's probably the same thing. They don't know where to draw the line. They go from smiling to batshit crazy. So I would avoid batshit crazy as much as possible. A lot of times we get in, it's principle a lot of times, but if you step back and think about it, it's usually over small money. Or, maybe the person's just having a really bad day, and sometimes people just say things or do things because whatever's happening. Just avoid it as much as you possibly can, unless it's something that is you're in danger, or somebody around you's in danger. I would just try to avoid it as much as humanly possible. You won't win in Thailand. You get one of them angry. You may beat them up, but you're not going to beat them all up. and they like to hold a grudge. So I'm speaking in general. Actually, I'm probably always speaking in general. I'm not saying everybody. This is a situation for everybody. But you always get back in Thailand what you give. So if you're kind of a jerk, you're going to get treated as a jerk. There's a lot of jerks in Thailand. There's a lot of people that don't know how to act in public. And you're going to get treated back the same. So just try to smile, blend in. The roads are okay. I'm all right with the way things are. You got to avoid driving at night. A lot of people drink here and they can't see, and the lighting is poor in some areas. I would just avoid driving at nighttime altogether, especially a motorbike. I talked about soy dogs and stuff like that. I've actually never been bitten by a dog. I've come extremely close multiple times riding my bicycle throughout Thailand. When I first got here, I wanted to go explore the town, and I was going down all these little roads, which they call soys, a small road. And, the dogs were coming at me, and I could see the owners. They're just sitting there looking at me. They're not saying anything. And I'm like, what the hell, So I bought this little flashlight taser at the market. and I mounted it on my bicycle, and really all I had to do was and then the dogs would hear it and they would freak out and run off. I've never zapped one. I've wanted to a few times, but I never did. I love animals. I just don't want to get bitten by an animal. If you get bit by a dog here, you have to get a series of rabies shots. I don't know that most dogs have rabies here. Maybe they do. Maybe they just don't show like rabid signs. Not, you know, but really you're recommended to go get a rabies shot if you get bit by a dog here. So don't go walking around trying to stick your hand up in their face and go, oh, you're such a beauty, and then you're going to get bit. Because they realize for a second, oh shit, you don't have any food, you're in my space. Bam, you know. Unless you know it's a pet, and even then I would still be cautious. I wouldn't try to approach animals. I've been scratched pretty bad and bit by cats. Cat coming to the table, wanting food, not realizing, you know, just casually gonna go down there and pet the cat. He thinks I got food in my hand and just swats the damn skin right off of my hands. So just thinking I had food in my hand. So even cats are more calm, you know, than the dogs. Monkeys, stay away from the monkeys. The black and white monkeys, you know, okay, fine. There's not too many of those around. But the regular monkeys, don't smile at them. It's a sign of aggression. They are vicious creatures, and they will pack up and attack you and steal all of your stuff. Just avoid them. They in certain areas of Thailand, there's many of them. And tourists like to feed them, so every time they see a foreigner, they think we've got something to give them. And if we don't, they just take what we have. Avoid the monkeys. Avoid the monkeys, avoid driving at night, avoid confrontation with Thai people. It's not worth it. Wear sunscreen. The sun can be extremely dangerous in Thailand. I see tourists all the time walking around with their girlfriend's underwear on, walking with nothing but that, and just look like a cherry at the end of the day, you know. There's nothing worse than sun poisoning. I know a lot of people don't like Europeans. I don't know why I said that. A lot of people don't like sunscreen. They think it causes cancer. I think there's a lot more cases of sun melanoma cancer than, I don't know of anybody that died of sunscreen. But what I do know is that if you don't want to wear it, you need to avoid the sun for long periods of time. You won't see Thai people hanging out in the pool, on the beach, walking in the middle of the street when it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. If you do, they'll have an umbrella over their head. It's not that a lot of times they don't want, I mean, a lot of times, yeah, they don't want to get tan, but it's hot as hell. And, you know, a lot of times I'm okay with the heat now because I'm usually in the shade or I'm in front of a fan. You're not going to see me unless I'm sitting in the water in a swimming pool out in the middle of the damn sun. I've got sunscreen on my face right now and my arms. They sell it like I don't know what that means, like natural sunscreen. And my mom bought it. I have no idea. But I'm wearing that because skin cancer is relevant in my gene pool. And I want to try to avoid that if I can. So if you don't want to do it, it's up to you. Everything is always up to you. I love Thailand because it is up to you. If you want to walk across the street in the middle of traffic and you get run over, it's up to you. Like, you're probably going to die. Like, you're not going to sue nobody. Just don't do it. If you see a bunch of wires hanging on a pole that are exposed and you grab it and you get electrocuted, man, why did you do that? Like, you're not going to sue nobody. You know, it's just you're a stupid person, you know, or bad luck. You got some bad luck. Hopefully you survive. So you got to be smart in Thailand. And I think a lot of times, you know, where we come from, everything is planned out. Don't walk here, don't do this, don't do that. Red light, green light, stop sign, all these signs. You know, we have orders to follow every step that we take. Here, like if you see a stop sign, and I've run a couple of my videos and people are giving me the third degree. It doesn't matter how many times I explain. I think people may skip through it, or they don't care, or they don't watch the videos mostly anyway, but they found something to comment about. And the stop signs here, yeah, maybe you should stop. But really, it just means that if there's two cars and you have a stop sign, that you're supposed to stop. Theoretically, nobody stops. A lot of times you can't stop because you can't see beyond. You have to creep out of the middle of the damn road just to be able to see if there's a car coming because of a tree or a car or a brick wall. There's no access, there's no view, so you have to creep out a little bit. There's stop signs in front of a railroad in the middle of on a main road. It doesn't mean you got to stop there in the middle of the road when traffic is everywhere. It just means that you need to stop if there's a train coming. Basically, I'm not telling you to run stop signs. I'm just saying, if you're here, you'll see stop signs in the areas. You need to definitely look and see if there's a car coming. But theoretically, you're supposed to stop. The rules say stop, but sometimes the stop signs are in the weirdest places. You have to drive, you have to fit in, I guess is what I'm saying. When in Rome, you need to try to adapt into the way that people drive here, not become, you just got to be very cautious and always be on your guard when driving. You need to stop at red lights. I just got a ticket for that, by the way. I don't know why I ran it down. Maybe there was just nobody around. Sometimes the lights are like they got them on the wrong timer or something, or I don't know what the hell's going on. But I got a ticket in the mail for $500 in Konkan and I ran the shit out of it because it showed the picture of me like behind the intersection, and it showed an arrow pointing at the red light. And I just went through it. So that is not funny. If there was, your whole life could change in Thailand if you become in an accident, which I'll talk about that in just a second. You don't want to get in an accident in Thailand, but definitely stop at the red lights. And here, like in the States, you'll have a yellow light. It takes like a couple of seconds before it actually turns red. Here it's like, if you're lucky, you'll have a flashing, the green light will flash, which means it's gonna turn yellow in a second. Or sometimes it just goes blank and then turns red, just depends on if it's working or not. Back to the maintenance thing. But it turns red like really fast. Most of the time it's yellow, red, done. So you gotta be kind of careful with that. And I see a lot of people running red lights. Thankfully, the other one doesn't turn green right away. That could be a problem. It's a weird thing about accidents here. Like if I hit a motorbike, it's my fault. If I hit a smaller car, it's my fault. It doesn't matter the circumstance. I have cameras and a lawyer who hopefully can get me out of a predicament. If a drunk person's driving in the street without light. I just can't show you, but there's a guy coming on the opposite side of the road on the feeder here. Anyway, you could lose not only a lot of money, but you could lose your stay in Thailand if you kill somebody, and it may not even be your fault. And most of the time it's not, because the way they think a lot of times, or I think most of the time, is if they're in front of you, they have the right of way. You have to avoid them. So you got a motorbike that's got a pretty big side median. Let me turn the camera around here. Like this guy right here. Like he could get over, but he chooses to drive in the road. on his motorbike that's going about 40 kilometers per hour, and everybody's having to avoid this guy on the road. But you need to avoid him. It doesn't mean that you're in the right of way and you could beep at him or brush by him, because if he causes an accident, it's your fault. So if they're in front of you, just get around them. You know, same with cars too. A lot of vehicles, they'll be in the middle of the damn road. Like, which lane do you want? But they don't care. I think a lot of their driving habits are only learned from riding a motorbike most of the time. That's just my opinion. I think a lot of times they shouldn't be driving a vehicle. They should go back to the motorbike. But anyway, if they're in front, they think that they have the right of way. Just, you know, if you're in a city, don't drive fast. There's motorbikes. They'll come right off the side road without even looking, and they'll come out into the road, you know, partially into the road. I always just try to stay in the right lane as much as I can, because you never know. A dog, a motorbike, a car, a lot of stuff coming out of the side. These big trucks right here, if there's a motorbike anywhere on the side of the road, they'll swerve at you. Well, not really swerve at you, but they will come over on you. They don't care about you. They only care about the motorbike. I always do my best to never be beside a big truck like that. I'm either in front, or I give myself some space and I get in front of them when I can. Because they will come at you all the time. All they do, they come over, in, out, all day long, because if they hit a guy on a motorbike, they're screwed, you know. But again, the people in front of the road, they're not paying attention. A lot of times they take the mirrors, if they even have it angled right, they have the mirrors off. Like, that's probably one of the most important things to have on a motorbike, other than brakes, is to know what's behind you. But I don't think they care. Pretty sure they don't. So a lot of times the motorbikes are a pain in the ass, especially in the country. I feel like in the country, driving is worse. Like, they have really, really bad habits in the country. You know, I was raised in Texas and lived out in the country, but country folk, we don't have motor scooters like here, but they would go over on the side and the slope. We call that the grandpa lane. And they can do whatever the hell they want over there, you know, but they're not in the middle of the damn road where people have to try to figure out when can I safely get around this? I don't know if the guy's drunk or what the hell his problem is, you know, got to get around him. And then once you come around them, they like straighten up and they get in their lane. I'm like, dude, really? Anyway, I just want to talk about safety a little bit in Thailand. Be very cautious. I think Thailand is a wonderful place. I'm okay with the driving. When I go back to the States, I feel really, if you look around, it's like all the sides, the medians and stuff, it looks like, I don't know what to say. Like, there's crash marks everywhere. I think people spend more time looking at their phones and not paying attention. We don't die a lot over there because we just bounce off of the guardrails, you know, and the concrete barriers. But I feel safer in Thailand in general with driving. You guys can share your thoughts below. If in general you feel safer or you don't feel safe. I feel safe around Thai people. If I drop my wallet, most of the time most cases you'll get it back. Thai people believe in karma, which is a good way to be. And normally they're not thieves. For the most part, they're not. But anyway, you guys can share your experience on that. And what do you think about being around Thai people? You think they're honest? You think they're safe? You can share some experience. I have a lot of stories I could tell you on, like, infrastructure stuff, you know, where people got injured or died from electrical shock or crashing their car because of, you know, the road just all of a sudden disappeared, you know. Yeah, you guys can share some stories of that if you have any, but all I want to say is be careful. This is the up to you country. I really enjoyed. I feel much safer here. I'm glad my mom is in a safer environment, and that's all I want to talk about this morning. We'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.